member of several. Hello, sir. Is this audible, sir?
Yes, your voice is audible. Please continue.
Okay. And he is also a member of many professional bodies and senior member of IEEE since from 1999 and executive committee member in IIT Kanpur session from 2004 to 2016, and he is also a vice chair and student bachelor council of IIT Governor section 2008, and he is also member of many academic committees, and he is also a member of Board of Graduate Studies for Northeast Hill University, Shillong, and member of Board Studies in Manipal University of Technology, Manipal, Karnataka. And he has been contributed many conferences and papers for research purpose and conference organized by the committee members in many activities. And these are the papers that SAR has been established in a research platform to the juniors. IEEE software engineering, on IEEE on man of systems and cyber networks, and he has been done many papers like this. Sir, thank you, sir. We warmly welcome to our FDP session, sir. Continue. Please continue, sir.
Okay, thank you, Preeti, giving me a chance to interact with your participants.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I think we are all ready, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, let me off my video because it is not so much required. Instead, I will share my presentation slides. Okay, so let me share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Could you please confirm if I'm okay? My screen is.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible, sir.
It is visible.
Okay, it is visible. Very good. So good morning to all the participants. So today I am going to present one topic which is created as the very beginning of the machine learning topic. So machine learning in fact started with the concept of relation analysis, which is actually our topic of today's discussion in 2 sessions. So 2 sessions is around 3 hours or so. I shall be able to complete the entire concepts related to relation analysis in 3 hours. So mainly I will discuss what exactly we mean about relation analysis. So concepts, and then no concepts are sufficient if you don't apply the concepts into some solving real life problems. Nowadays, big data analytics is very emerging topic, and it is very useful because the data is increasing like anything, and we shall see how the concepts that we learn is applicable to big data analytics. As I told earlier, so relation analysis is one machine learning concept. Now, what exactly the way machine can learn? So if you have some input data, machine will be able to learn from such input data. It is the similar process, the way a human can learn from the nature. So from nature, a human being can receive data. The data are bombarded to the human body by means of different sensors. Through eye, human can perceive images or objects those are visible. by ear, it receives audio. By haptic sense, skin or external body surface receives many other input like temperature, pressure, like that. Similarly, tongue also a sensor which receives input and then passed it to the body, and then body can learn from the things. So these are the learning things actually. Now, the entire learning strategies, of course, by the development of the technology has improved. And today, we know the learning strategy in the form of, right, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, and so on. But overall, the entire learning strategies, what I want to say, learning by machines, can be divided into two approaches. One approach is called the statistical based approach, and another is called a data based approach. Now, in both approaches, definitely data is required. But in case of statistical based approach, machine try to learn the statistical parameters. That is why it is called parametric procedure of learning. Now, what is the statistical parameters? It is, for example, in case of opinion poll, we collect a sample data, and from the sample data, we can infer, we can say the learn, what is the mean opinion of the population, what is the variance in opinion of the population, what is the mode of the population. So mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviations, they are called statistical measurement or called the statistical parameters. In contrast to the statistical learning, there is core learning, which is actually the machine learning, where we can collect data and then try to find the relationship among the collected data. Now here, what I want to say a data is, data can be related to the ages of a population, and then there may be another data related to the salaries of the employees under that population. Now, if we can find a relation between ages and then salaries, then we can say that it is a non-parametric approach of learning. So we have to learn the relation between two sets of data. Now here it is also alternatively called non-parametric procedure. It is non-parametric because we really don't bother about what is the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, etc. Rather, we only focus on relation between two sets of data. So this comes under the category of non-parametric approaches to machine learning, and more specifically, relationship analysis for the learning. So essentially, we shall learn from the input data. Now, as an example, I can give one example for your understanding. Say, suppose you have a large collection of data related to the salaries obtained by different employees in a particular region of India. Say it is from the eastern region. You can consider the entire population from the whole India also. But anyway, so you can understand that your data here, the employees, their ages, their salaries, their education levels, and like this. So you can store such a data in a database. Now, given such a data in your database, there may be many interesting information that needs to be retrieved. And that information retrieval actually in the form of learning different relationships or understanding the different relationships. For example, from your data, we can find if there is any relationship between employees' ages and their salaries. More precisely, how salaries vary with the ages of the employees. Another relationship maybe we shall be interested to understand. For example, the year versus salaries. How salaries vary with the time, years. Another important relationship also we can find from the data, for example, whether the salaries are anyway related with the employee education levels. Now you can understand that given such a data in the form of a database, actually we can mine many information which are hidden there. So all this mining the information, retrieving the information is in fact is a process of learning. Now, more precisely, I can tell how machine can learn given a set of data in the form of a database. For example, let us consider the same wage data that we have mentioned in the last slide. Here, you consider the data set, and here if we plot the data in the form of a 2D graph, right? In this graph, we consider two attributes. One is age of the employees, another is salary of the employees. So if we plot the different values of ages with their salaries, then this kind of distribution that will be obtained. Now, this is actually a random, what is called the distribution looks like. And this is your data, which is, we can say, the raw data. And from this raw data, we want to find the relation, how wages vary with salaries. So apparently from this, we don't have any conclusion because it is distributed, look like in a scattered manner. But if we proceed little bit, then we shall be able to draw a line which looks like this. Now, this line is drawn in such a way that this line is almost or very closest to all the points as close as possible. Now, machine can learn how to draw such a line. Once this line is drawn by machine, then machine will be able to conclude many things. What is the conclusions? The conclusions like, yes, salary increases with ages and it is increases up to 60 years of ages of the employees. And if the employees' ages go beyond 60, then their salary decreases. Now, this is a very good revelation. So far, the data analytics from this data is concerned. And this is an example that we can understand that how salary varies with ages. That understanding is now complete. So here, the machine should learn how to find such a variations. And this is possible only if the relationship between the two attributes, machine can learn it. So it is actually a relationship between two attributes. So we can write age, this is equals to one function, and this function is age. Now here this function pictorially depicted by this one, and machine learn this function. So this is our learning ways, and actually F is nothing but a relation. So a relation between age and age, it is a mapping. So this is the one example of a relation analysis. Now let's come to another example. Other two attributes, say salary versus year. So what we can plot here, in 2010, what are the different salaries obtained by the different employees in that particular region? It is plot like this. In 2012, the same distribution of the salaries are like this one. In 2014, it is like. 2016, it is like. Now here the two attributes, one is time, another is salary. Now here, could we find any relation between the two? That means whether there is a function F, so that here is a function of salary, or vice versa. So here is the question therefore, how salary varies with time? So from this distribution, really we don't have any clue about this one. But if we can find a relationship between year and ages, possibly we shall be able to do that. Now this relationship, machine that can learn, looks like. So what is the, so somehow machine will be able to draw this kind of line, given this is the data. Given this is a data set, machine will be able to draw this line. So this line again is another function. Okay. This line says that salary varies with time, of course. And how it varies? It varies linearly. How linearly it varies? With a slow rate of increase. So these are the different conclusions that we can obtain from the data that we have, provided that we can find relationship between the attributes. Now, another example from the same set of data. Here, the two attributes, one is education level and another is salary. Again, this is the education level, 10th standard of the employees, 12th standard, undergraduate level, postgraduate level, and then higher education level. Now, the employees who are having 10th standard, their salary varying from this to this. From 12th standard, their salary varying from this to this. From undergraduate, their salary varying this one. From postgraduate, it is there. From PhD or higher, it is there. Now, this is the increment, or this is the range of salaries that employees usually enjoy with their education level. Now, given this kind of data, can you conclude anything like whether there is any relation between the salaries and the education level of an employee? So apparently, we shall not be able to find any relation. But if machine can learn the relation from the given data set, machine possibly will be able to draw a plot. This is very popularly called the box plot. And in this box plot, this is the minimum salary, this is the maximum salary, and this is called the median of the salary, and this is called the third quartile, and this is called the first quartile. So first quartile means 25 percentiles of the salary, third quartile it is called the 75% of the salary, and it is actually called the 50th quartile, 50% of the percentile. This is actually the median. So for all data corresponding to the different relationship level, we can have this kind of box plot. Now from this box plot, if we see the median, how it varies. So median varies like this, and this variation can be drawn by means of a function, and this function is actually the equation of a straight line. Then we can say that yes, salary varies with the education level, and salary increases with the level of education, and what is the rate of increase or what is the growth of the salaries with the education level. All those information you can obtain. Now I gave 3 examples, but you see 3 examples related to same data set. This is the employee data set or wage data set obtained from a given regions where the employees are working. Now data set is one, but we can analyze the data set from the different viewpoints and thereby getting many information from it. And this is the beauty. And this is the beauty of data analysis, where we can find, we can apply. So all this information is very much useful in case of your decision making. So far the business intelligence is concerned, all this information we shall be able to use to find a good decision in a business procedure, and then business will grow. So this is one good example where we can apply so far the business intelligence and decision making is concerned. So I just gave 3 examples, but truly there are many such examples, even from a same data set also possible. For example, given an employee's salary, can he predict his age? Whether salary has any association with both salary and the education level? Like this, there are many such information that can be retrieved. So we can say it is just like mine of data. Data mine, just like coal mine, data mine. And data is available in the form of a very raw, right? Raw look, raw data. And if we polish the data, then from such a raw data or from the data mine, we shall be able to mine information. That means retrieve information. So it is from data mine to mining information. And this is actually the application of relationship analysis. Now you possibly having queries about, so how we can find the relationship between the 2 attributes? How it is possible? Because this is important ultimate things, right? If we find relations, then we will be able to answer. So how a relationship can be obtained? I can give an example so that you can understand. Thereby it will help you to understand the concept of relation analysis. So here suppose X and Y are the 2 attributes. So 2 attributes data can be plotted in a 2D graph. So this is the example of a 2D graph. And here each point actually a data point, is a record. Right? So it's a record. So this is a data point which we can draw it. Now, how much information, how much memory rather is required to store such data which can be visualized in the form of a graph? Now let us consider 50 records are plotted in this graph. So we need a table with 50 rows, and for each row there is a X value and there is a Y value. So it is there. Now if the data is more than 2 dimensions, then there may be another column will be added there. So maybe W, Z and there. Now let us consider the 2D data only. Okay, so in case of 2D data, so there is a first record, and if it is the 50 data, so 50 record have to be stored. Now suppose x is an integer, y is an integer, and this require 2 bytes, and this is also require 2 bytes, so 4 bytes. So the total data that is required to store is 50 into 4. So this is 200 bytes data. Now, see, amount will increase if the attributes of the data increases. But anyway, now you may be right querying about that. Why I am coming into the memory calculation there? It is very related. Now, my objective is this is the 200 byte data. It is required if we want to store in the form of this data. Now, can we store the same data with a very small amount of memory? And if it is possible, then what is the minimum amount of memory that is required? Obviously, small amount of memory means it is less than 200 bytes. Now the question is, here is a challenge. How we will be able to store all the data, those are here, but with a minimum amount of memory. I can say minimum means only 4 bytes. So it is 200 byte to 4 byte data. How it is possible? If I ask you to store all my data in 4 bytes, how you can do that? Now, here, yes, it is possible. We can store all the informations, those are given in the raw form, we will be able to store, but with minimum, if we can find the relation between x and y. Now, what is the relation between x and y? If we find it, then we can write. So what I can say, so there is a relation. Again, I repeat it, y, relation means it is like this, function, and this is x. So this is actually f is the relation. Now from there we have to find a relation. Now one relation is, let's draw a line, straight line. If we can draw a straight line which passing through all the points, then equation of this line actually gives a relation between the two. So we can write the equation is y equals to m x plus c. So this is the f function here, and this f function is like this. F function is like this. Now here you see, instead of storing this 50 data, we can store the information of the relation. Now the information of the relation has 2 parameters. One is m, another is c. What is the m? M is called the slope, angle that is made by the line with the horizontal axis. So it is actually m. That is actually angle tan theta, we can say. Tan theta. So it is the theta angle. Now, so this is actually another parameter that we can store here. And another is c. What is the c? The intercepts that we can have. So it is actually, this is the intercept with the x-axis. So it is actually c. So this information also we can store here, right? So here you can see m and c are the 2 values to be stored. M and c. So this is the only 2 values to be stored, and this is enough to store all the data. Whether it is 50, whether it is 500, whether it is 5,000, no issue, because this m and c will represent each and every record. Those are to be maintained to retrieve certain information from it, because the information in the form of MC and information in the form of the entire data set are logically same. So what we can understand is that just with the 2 values, if we can learn these 2 values, so far this learning is concerned. So then we shall be able to, okay, find the relation. And this is important. And this is the idea of the machine learning concept, that how the machine can learn these two values A and B. Why this is an issue? This is an issue because how machine can learn this line. Actually, there are infinite number of lines are possible. This may be one straight line or curvy line. There are many other lines are possible. So obviously, out of infinite lines, machine should learn this line. Now, how machine can learn this? So this techniques is actually comes under the concept of very beginning of the machine learning in the form of relation analysis. So let's first learn about the concept. We have a very great introduction to relation analysis. Now I shall come down to the discussion of the concepts of relation analysis and the methodology by which we can do. Now, so 2 sessions. In the first session, we will consider half of the topic that I have presented here. So in the first session, I will try to understand what exactly the relationship it is. Introduction is over by the time. So if the relationship is one entity and whether it is measurable quantitatively or qualitatively, we shall see quantitative or qualitative measurement if it is possible. Next, the techniques that we shall discuss, and this relationship analysis techniques comes under the topic, it is called the correlation analysis. There are many techniques are available, but we shall discuss very basic techniques which were proposed long back, maybe 50 years back, but still they remain useful and applicable to our even big data also. So few techniques I shall discuss, because time will not permit to cover so many techniques. I shall discuss Pearson's technique, Spearman's technique, and then chi-square technique. So these 3 techniques I shall discuss, and I will discuss with an example and an application also. Then in the next part of this session, that means second session, we shall discuss another technique. It is come under regression analysis. Followed by the regression analysis, we shall discuss auto-regression analysis. And I will conclude my sessions giving some hints of application to big data analytics. So this is actually planned for my presentation session in this program. Now, let us see the relationship and then the measurement policy of this relationship. Now, before going to have the measurement policy of relationship, let us see in what form data will be given to you. Now, this is a very simple data. For example, this is the data related to the temperature, right? Temperature in a particular, say, place, say temperature in, say, Hyderabad. Now here you see these are the temperature obtained maybe day-wise. Now such a data actually can be stored in the form of an array, or simply it is called the list. And this type of data is called one variable data, because here temperature is the variable. So how the temperature varies? It varies like this. So this data can be stored in the form of an array. Now such a data, it is called univariate data, or it is called the univariate population. Now given this type of data, whether we can find any relationship or not, actually here I said the relationship between 2 variables. Here only one variable. So this means that relationship does not stand here. But other than this relationship, because relationship is not applicable to this kind of data, rather we can have some other measurement. They are called statistical measures. What are the different statistical measures that we can obtain from this data? I can say what is the average temperature, so mean. What is the most likely temperature, that you can say mode. What is the median data? Okay, is the data that is actually peak data, and like this. So mean, median, mode, minimum, maximum, standard deviation, variance. These are statistical measures which can be obtained from the univariate population, nothing else. Now let's come to another category of data where two variables are there. Here pressure and temperature. It is again for a given place, say Hyderabad, how temperature and then pressure of the atmosphere, whether low pressure, deep pressure, high pressure, or normal pressure, all those can be. And then with temperature, how pressures were there. So this can be stored in the form of a, again, table, and this is a very simple table, and this is actually called the 2D table, right? And such a data is called the bivariate data because two different variables are involved. So if this is the bivariate data, then here we can find the relationship between pressure and temperature. That means if temperature increases, pressure decreases, or pressure increases, or pressure remains same, like this. So this kind of information that can be obtained. That means we shall be able to find the relationship between the two variables, those are involved in an application. Now, so this is not the end actually. There may be multivariate population also available. For example, in addition to pressure, temperature, we want to add one more variable called the volume, which is very much common in the field of physics, chemistry, and atmospheric science. So here you can see the relationship involved among three variables, and obviously it is a complex relationship, right? So complex relationship. So it is called the multivariate population. Now, this is again not the end. In this, we can add one more attribute, say viscosity. So it is a viscosity. Viscosity is another parameters, right? Another variable which also very much important in the context of atmospheric science, atmospheric engineering. So you can see multivariate data here, right? Now, likewise, the many more data, actually in our big data, the data are of multiple attributes, right? So if multiple data are involved, then how the relation can be obtained. So this relationship also can be measurable. Now, so these are the relationship therefore exist between two, more than two, or like it does not have any limits there. So now question is that, so how we can we can find a relationship. So here one question I have posed like, does there exist correlation, that is association between two or more variables? Now here you see correlation. What is the correlation? Correlation means how one varies with the value of others. Others may be two or more, one or more. Or rather, the thing is that whether there is any association, that means some relationship exists or not. Now, if your answer is yes, that means yes, there exists a correlation or association between two or more variables, then the measurement, what is the degree of this association or correlation? Now, so if we are able to get this answer, then actually we shall be able to measure the relationship. Now, for this relationship analysis measurement, two techniques are known. One is called correlation analysis technique and regression analysis technique. So now we shall cover this concept, correlation analysis technique. Okay. Now let's see what is the concept of correlation and how the correlation analysis can be measured. And for the simplified discussion in this session, I shall consider only bivariate population. If we can learn the concept of bivariate population for the correlation analysis, we shall be easily able to extend the concept to multivariate data as well as. Now again recall, bivariate means there are two attributes, one is A and another is B. So two attributes. Say A is weight and B is height. And these are the data of different weights values and there is a data of different height values. Then you can, okay, logically it is like that if there is any correlation between weight and height, that means weight of a person increases with height, or it is not any relation between weight and height, or there is a that height decreases as the weight increases, these kind of things that we want to find it. Now this is actually called the correlation may be positive, negative or zero. Positive means if there exists an association, and it is a positive association means the value of one variable increases with the increase of other values. Now negative is also another. Yes, the correlation exists, but value of one variable decreases with the increase of other variables. And third category, it is zero. There is no correlation. There is no association between the values of the variables. So it is the positive correlation or negative correlation or zero correlation. Now, so this way we can categorize the relationships in three different forms: positive relation, negative relation, no relation. Now here are a few examples you can see. Say we have collected data of around 10 students. Those are preparing for their competitive examinations, say IAS preparation. And here the different candidates who studied for a particular hours in a day on the average, and then the score that he or she secured in the examination. So here one candidate who studied 3 hours average and his or her score is 80 and so on. So here one attribute is hour study and another attribute is exam score. So we want to find if there is any association between the two. Okay, so simple plot which will look like this. And if we can learn some line which will touch, right, all the points, but not exactly touching, but closely. So all points are very close to the lines. And say this is the point. So this is look like not linear, it is a non-linear. So then we can see, yes, there is a correlation. Now, if it is a correlation, then what, positive or negative? Now, as we see, hour of study as increases, score increases. So it is a positive correlation. So this is an example showing the positive correlation between the two attributes, hour study and exam score. Now we can learn it by plotting it into the graph. But if I question is that how strong the relation is or how weak the relation is. The strength in a relation can be expressed in the form of a numerical value, and this is called the degree of correlation. So from here we shall not be able to find any degree of correlation because it requires different treatment. We shall discuss, of course, how the strength of a relationship can be measured. Now, relationship, you know, it is a little bit sensitive concept. Why it is sensitive concept? I can tell you one example. Say there is one attribute which is number of CDs sold in shop X. And these are the, selling record of the of a shop, right, who sold CD. There is another shop where cigarettes are sold, and this is the selling record of the cigarettes sold by that shop. So these are the data from the two shops, shop 1 and shop 2. Even you can see the data from the same shop also, no issue. Now here, do you think that this attribute and these attributes are relatable? I should say relatable means there should be some physical meaning of the relationship should be there. Now, even we don't going for that information, let us plot the graph. Here, number of cigarettes sold and number of CDs sold. Then this graph is showing this kind of plot, and we can find some relation, positive correlation like. But do you think this relation is meaningful relation? What I want to say, number of cigarette sold increases as the number of CD sold increases. Is there any meaningful? If there is no meaningful, right, there is no meaning between the two relations, then that correlation analysis is meaningless, so not applicable. On the other hand, if you can find any relationship and the meaningfulness in that relationship, then this relationship is again valid. Now I can see an example here again. Say, who watches video also smokes cigarette in a particular society. Suppose this kind of things it is there, and as a social worker, you want to find that okay, if there is any such symptoms in the people in a society or not, then you can collect the data so far CD sold is concerned and cigarette sold is concerned, and from there you can find if there is any correlation. Now then only if that kind of implication we apply, then this relationship is applicable and then meaningful. Then we can go ahead. Otherwise, no. So correlation analysis makes sense when relationship makes sense. So this way you have to be a little bit careful because you are the data scientist. So if your boss says that find this correlation, but before that, what it does mean about this correlation? Whether the relationship makes any sense or not any sense. So that is important, right? Anyway, so we are discussing about the correlation analysis and 3 different forms of correlation analysis, as I said, positive, negative, and no correlation. Next, our objective is to learn how we can measure the strength of correlation or degree of correlation, strength or weakness of the relation actually. Relationship is there, strong relation, weak relation. Now here, as you can see, this is the plot of the graph. And what sort of relation? If we draw a line, it is called the positive correlation. Now this is what sort of graph? It is also negative correlation. Here slope is positive, slope is negative. Now, if we consider one instances where all the points are exactly lie on this line, then what do you mean? You can mean that this line gives very strong correlation. So as we see, many points are a little bit away from the line. So relation is strong, but not so strong as all the points lying on the line. Now here also negative correlation. If all the points, that means data value stored on the line, we can say that it is negative correlation, but strong negative correlation. On the other hand, if it is like this, it is not so strong, but still strong. On the other hand, if we here, it is actually no correlation, zero correlation, or it is actually degree 0. There is no relationship exit there, because we shall not be able to draw any either positivity or negativity among the data. So this way, we are a little bit close about how to measure the strength of a relation, or it is called the degree of relation or degree of association. So usually in the book of machine learning, this degree of association is denoted by a symbol, it is called R. So you can logically means that R stands for relation. Now these values of R, in most of the methodology, those are known for measuring degree of relation, is lying between +1 and -1. So positive value, that means 0 to, if it is 0, then no relation. And greater than 0 to some positive value, highest value is +1, it indicates positive. And less than 0 to highest maximum -1, it is called the negative or correlation. So if R equals to +1, which is the highest value, then we can say it is a perfect positive correlation or relationship is very strong or high degree of correlation. So +1, high degree of positive correlation, -1, high degree of negative correlation. And R equals to 0 implies no correlation. So degree of association therefore can be expressed by calculating the value of R. Now question is that how this value R can be calculated. So how this value can be calculated. Now let us see the method how this can be calculated. Now so far this data is concerned and this data is concerned, both are positive correlated, but as you see this R value, so it is R1, and this R value, so it is R2. So this R1, both are positive. This R1 is also positive, R2 is positive, but this R1 is greater than R2. You can understand why, right? Similarly, this is also correlation and this is also correlation. But this is actually say R3 and this is say R4. Now here you see this correlation is negative correlation. Now here we can say R4 is greater than R3. This is because it is weak and this is this one. So this way we can find the relationship, but the question is that how all these R value, given this kind of data, how R1 can be measured, from here how R2 can be measured, from here how R3 can be measured, from here how R4 can be measured. So the measurement of R1 is important that we are going to know it. So our next discussion is that how the strength of a relationship can be measured. Now I shall discuss 3 methods. Why these 3 methods? That also I can tell you. The 3 methods which I have chosen in this course, right, is one is called the Karl Pearson's correlation analysis technique. Another example is called the Charles Spearman coefficient correlation analysis technique. And then third one is called the chi-square coefficient correlation technique. It is also alternatively called the Pearson's chi-square technique, because this method and this method were discovered by the famous mathematician Karl Pearson, and this method was discovered by Charles Spearman. Now in this method is applicable. I will discuss obviously 2 attributes, bivariate population. The 2 attributes, say A and B, right? Both the attributes are of numerical type. You know, age and weight, they are numerical, right? So if they are numerical, then we can apply this method, the first method. Now in the second method, the attributes are called ordinal attributes. What is the ordinal attribute? Ordinal attribute means, say suppose age. Age can be ordinal, age can be numerical. Age numerical when? If the values of the ages are from say 0 to 100. Any value in a continuous domain. It may be discrete value, integer value also. Now how it can be ordinal attribute? I can say, let us categorize all the ages into 5 categories. One is child, then young, then middle-aged, aged, and old-aged. Then data will be from whether child or young or middle-aged, aged, or old-aged. So such an attribute, it is not the numerical value. It is called the ordinal attributes. So this kind of correlation attributes is possible if the attributes are ordinal values, like this. The next method, the third method, it is actually when the attributes that is given to you are the categorical. What is the categorical? Say gender. Now gender has a category. We can express the gender category as male, female, or transgender. So three categories. We can express another attribute, say hobby. Hobby can be book, hobby can be internet, hobby can be movie, hobby can be music. They are called categorical attributes. So here, if the data that is given to you, and those are the data in the form of a categorical values, then we can apply this technique. Now you can understand why I have chosen three techniques, because data can be of any type, numerical, ordinal, categorical, whatever. Then how we can find this one? So if we learn these three techniques, then in your data analytics, whatever the type data that is given to you, you shall be able to find the relationship among the attributes and then degree of relationship. Okay, fine. So if we can measure the relationship value R, and if it is positive, then positive. If the value R gives negative, then negative. And then R value itself tell us that what is the degree of relationship. And then three methods we shall learn how these attributes values can be the degree of right relationship or associationship can be measured. So let us first discuss our first technique. It is called Karl Pearson correlation technique. Also in many books of machine learning, it is called Karl Pearson product movement correlation. Why it is a product? Because it considers the calculation of product and is a moment more instance and then correlation. Now let's see what is the method of it. This method is pretty simple method in fact. So you have given two attributes X and Y. For example, X actually age and Y is say weight. Now how weight varies with age, it is actually our objective to find the relationship between, that means if there is any relationship between weight and age or not. Now here this X, so we can see you have given the data in the form of a table and there are two columns. One is the X, that is the age for example, and another activity is called the Y. Now, so there are n number of data that is given to you, 1 and 2 and n number of data is given to you. And here is the x1, that is one value of this age, y1 another value of this age, and there is an ith attribute, so it is ith record, I, so xi and yi. So it is, these are the record, it is there, and it is xn, yn. Clear? So your data set is clear, right? Now from this data set, what we shall be able to do, considering all these values into account, we shall be able to calculate what is the mean value, and this mean value is represented at x bar. Similarly, for this set of data, we shall be able to calculate another value, it is called the y bar, that is called the mean value. So given this data, x bar and y bar can be calculated. Also, from this data set, what is the standard deviation, that also can be calculated. Let it be sigma x, and from this data set, sigma y, the standard deviation can be calculated. So any formula for the standard deviation calculation is pretty simple formula, you can use it. So from this, therefore, we shall be able to have 4 different values as it is there. Now with these 4 different values, we can use this formula. Xi means the ith data minus x bar, and then yi minus y bar, and then product of the 2 division, two subtraction. Taking for each, here summation should be I equals to 1 to n. So here x is the ith attribute of the x variable, y is the ith attribute of the y variable, x bar is mean of attribute x, y bar is mean of attribute y, sigma is standard deviation of x, sigma y is the standard deviation of y. So these are the right. And then from this data set, we shall be able to use, using this Pearson's correlation formula, we will be able to calculate R value. For this Carl Pearson, it is usually donated as R star, where n is the number of records that is given to you for your analysis. Okay. Now, so this R value can be calculated. So this is the Carl Pearson formula. Given the data, you will be able to find it quickly. Actually. Now, let us come to the discussion with an example. Say, suppose it is in a medical domain. Usually, doctor use this information to decide whether there is any malnutrition in a particular population or in a state or in a particular division, subdivision like this one. So, it is actually one medical analysis. Now, in this analysis, what is the data that is recorded by a hospital authority is like this. It is called the gestational ages. That means the weeks, number of weeks that a pregnant woman hold the baby in her womb. So it is called the gestational weeks. For example, for the first pregnancy that is recorded here, the woman carries the baby for 34.7 weeks. And at the time of birth, the baby's weight was found 1.895 kg. So similarly, there is another patient, 41.4 weeks. She holds the baby in her womb, and this is the weight of the baby that she gave birth. It is 3.657 kg. So these are the different weeks that the woman holds the baby in her womb, and this is the birth weight of the baby. It is here, and we have collected 1 to 7, the 17 records from the hospital in a particular week or fortnight or a month like this one. Now, this is the data that is given to you. Then we want to find a correlation. That means if there is any relation between these two attributes, gestational age and birth. So it is in our previous example, it is the X attribute, it is the Y. So we shall be able to find X bar and Y bar, and then sigma X we can easily calculate it, and then sigma Y will be calculated, and therefore we shall be able to calculate the formula of R star from this data that is from here. So this R star can be calculated. Now here, this is the plot of the graph. Actually, we can see that if we plot this graph, this kind of relation. So positive correlation, we can apparently find it. So for the graph visualization is concerned. Now this kind of graph plot is possible for the 2D, but for higher degree, you cannot do that. Now these are the different calculations that we can obtain from the given data set. This is the mean of the X, then gestational week, and the mean of birth weight. These are standard deviations of this one, and then R value that can be calculated 0.82. As we know, so R value very close to 1 means very strong correlation, but is 0.82 is also very good correlation. So here this example data indicates that that there is a strong positive correlation between gestational age and birth weight. So this is the idea by which we can calculate the correlation analysis or the degree of relationship. We can say that there is a relation between gestational age and birth weight. Now next come to the discussion of another technique. It is called the Church-Spearman correlation coefficient technique. Now this technique in many books of machine learning called rank correlation also. Why this is called rank correlation? Because this will find the rank of data. Now if I tell you what is the meaning of rank of data. Now suppose the marks obtained by a student in your course in say 4 subjects. Right? Now how you can rank the student? Now here definitely the highest marks obtained by the student should be rank 1. Then next highest marks should be rank 2 and so on so on. So in this method, that means in this Church-Spearman correlation method, it finds rank of the data, those are given to you. Now here again in the context of age, what should be the rank? Now if you want to give the more priority to the person who is higher age than the one, so rank accordingly or vice versa. So maybe their rank maybe say old aged, so rank 1, then maybe aged rank 2, middle aged rank 3, then young rank 4, and child rank 5. So this way you can assign rank to the data. So whether the data is ordinal, if it is ordinal, then we can find. For example here, height. Height can be expressed very small height, linear height, tall, and very tall. Then we can give this rank as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Or my other understanding, maybe this way also can be ranked. So it depends on in which application, what actually it means this way. Now T-shirt, so XS, S, L, XL, XL. So these are called ordinal data. So this is also ordinal data. Now all these ordinal data therefore can be converted to their rank value, and that is why, and that rank value will be used for this measurement of degree according to Church-Spearman correlation analysis. So here I want to say is that data needs to be pre-processed for the ordinal data rank to be computed, and this rank value will be used in our correlation measurement method according to Church-Spearman. Now another important point is that this rank also can be valid for the numerical data as well. This means we can calculate a rank for numerical data. For example, marks obtained by the students can be ranked. So numerical data can be ranked. So what is the other, in other words, what I can say is that Church-Spearman correlation mainly suitable for ordinal data, but it is also equally applicable for numerical data as well as. So the good point is that Church-Spearman can be applied for the ordinal as well as numerical data. Now let's see what is the formula that the Church-Spearman gave it. This is the formula of calculating the degree of relation R, and it is to give the name of specific to Church-Spearman, so we use RS. Now it is the formula. Now let's see what is the meaning of this formula. N is number of records that is given for your analysis purpose. That means if 50 or 100 or 500, how many records, how many data that is given. So it is the size of the data. And DI is the difference between the ith pair of data. Here also we shall consider the bivariate data, 2 attributes, say X and Y. Then for each attribute, we shall have the rank 1. One is say dx, X rank, and dy is the Y rank. Okay, then we can find another column which will take the, for example, it is the, say it is, for an example, so ith record that is given to you. Ith record has the value, ith record has value xi and yi. So let its rank is di and its rank is dj. Then the difference is di minus dj. This is there. So this di is actually called the difference of the rank of the two data. And then this is the formula. This is proposed by Charles Spearman. Derivation is beyond the scope of this discussion. Now I can give an example so that you can understand how this Charles Spearman coefficient can be applied to real life data. Say in our country, whatever the rivers are available, you collect the data of each rivers. Now, so the data that is collected from the geographical survey, it is like what is the depth of the river and what is the width of the river. So you can understand that means width and then depth. Now we want to find the two attributes W and another is the river depth and whether there is any relation between the width and depth. Here the 10 records is collected, the width of the different rivers and then depth of the different rivers, width in meter and depth in meter, we have stored it. So we have collected a sample of size 10 here and we want to calculate the correlation if there exists between this or not. So what exactly that required is that we want to rank all the data so far the width is concerned and we have to rank all the data so far depth is concerned. Now, how the rank for a numerical data can be calculated? I can tell you, for example, 20, 25, 25, 25, 30 are the set of data and we want to express into the rank. Again, the highest data can be rank 1, the next highest data will be rank 2, and this is also 3, 4 because it's the fourth data and then 5. But here you see 25 values are all, but they are ranked 2, 3, 4. So taking the average of these 3 will give you actually 3. So all these 24, the rank value is 3. So 30 is rank 1, 25 is rank 3 and 20 is rank 5. So this way the rank can be calculated. Little bit programming is required, pre-processing is required, which we will be able to calculate it. Now for our given data, so 500 is the highest, so it is rank 1, then rank 2, rank 3, and this way the rank is calculated for the 10 data. Those are under width. So rank, width are now expressed into rank. Similarly, depth are also expressed into the rank. The highest depth is rank 1, then is the rank 2, rank 3, and so on. So this is also rank, it is there. Now that this difference between the two rank, for example, 9 and 9, difference is 0. Here 5 and 6, difference is minus 1. Here 2 and 1, difference is 1. All the difference are calculated. Now square of the difference is used in the formula because it is this one. So this is the square calculation. And then sum of all the values, so far it is actually 4. So our S calculation is 1 minus 6 into 4 by 10 into 99. And this value can be given you the calculation as 0.9757. It is a positive value. Then we can say that this and this has a positive correlation. And 0.9757 means it has very strong positive correlation. Now you possibly able to learn about that two methods which we have learned. One is the Karl-Pearson correlation and Charles Spearman coefficient correlation, which we can use to find the correlation between bivariate and degree of correlation. Strength of relation also can be obtained. And fortunately, all the examples which we have considered, they are of positive correlation, where there are some other instances can be given, which we can use to calculate the negative correlation as well as. So we shall be able to find the correlation calculation here. Our third example, this example is called the chi-square test of correlation. Now this analysis again proposed by same Karl-Pearson, also alternatively called Pearson chi-square test, or simply chi-square test of correlation, which is a very popular one correlation analysis method in the field of relation analysis, in the field of non-parametric approaches to machine learning technique. Now here again we shall consider two attributes bivariate data A and B, and it will look like this, and we want to find the correlation between A and B. Now this method chi-square test has two different two major differences between the earlier two approaches. One, both Karl-Pearson and then Charles Spearman analysis calculate R star or RS respectively, and this value lie between +1 to -1. But in case of chi-square test, it will calculate a correlation or degree of correlation, not R value. It is called the chi-square value. So it is actually one sort of measurement of degree of relationship or association, but using one different symbol, it is called the chi-square value. And this chi-square value actually is not that it is lying between +1 to -1. It can be, well, it is always positive, of course. It is always positive value. It is always positive value. But its value can be anything, right? Starting from 0 to any higher value is also possible. Now the question is that if it is like this, then whether positive or negative, how we can decide it? Actually, it does not find whether positive correlation or negative correlation. It only measures whether the correlation exists or not. So positive is also correlation and negative is also correlation according to chi-square analysis. Actually, it has some other application to prove certain hypotheses. So usually this technique is used for the hypothesis testing. I'll discuss the hypothesis testing concept actually. Now, so let us come to the technique which is actually used so far the chi-square test is concerned. Now, you will be given the data which in this form. Now, from this data, we have to little bit do a pre-processing where we can find a table, the contingency table. What is the contingency table? All the value that is belongs to the attribute A in order you can store in this. So highest value to lowest value. That means, so A1 to AM, not is the highest lowest because it is applicable to categorical. So this is the one categorical value, another. For example, this is called the hobby. Hobby may be book, this is movie, this is maybe internet, this is maybe music, this is maybe sports like this one. So these are the different categorical value A. And another set of categorical value B, which we can plot in this direction. All right. So these are the different categorical value A, B. Now, one entry, this one. What this entry mean? This entry means that how many of the records for which the A attribute is AI and B attribute is BG. So this actually is the number of records or number of data which has A is AI and B is BJ. So this way, all the entry can be calculated once the data that is given to you. Now this is called the observed frequency. So here, observed frequency, it is denoted as OIJ. Now, if we take the sum of all row, then it is called the row total. That means how many records which A attribute is A1, A attribute is A2 and so on. Similarly, here the how many records whose attribute is B1 and how many records are the total attribute is B2 and then so row total can be obtained. Either taking all the row total sum or either taking all column total sum, this will give you a grand total. I mean how many total records are there. So this way, this contingency table is a summary of all the data that can be obtained from there. So in other words, this is the data that is given to you. From there, you can find a contingency table which summarizes the data. So it is actually, this contingency table is called data summarization. Now we shall be able to have a contingency table given this data and one frequency, that means this entry can be calculated OIJ. So here O11, O12 and so on. So here OMN, the data entry can be calculated. So given this data, how many AI, BJ, calculating all these things, you can do it. It is a very small time, even for the large data also, no issue. And another entry also, in addition to OIJ, the observed frequency, it is called the expected frequency, can be calculated. Now expected frequency for this, what is the row and row total and what is the column total? It is actually divided by grand total. So AI multiplied by BJ and divided by N, this will be equals to EIJ. So this is a formula by which the EIJ can be calculated. Now you can understand this contingency table, each cell store two values, OIJ and EIJ. So given a data that is given to you, you will be able to calculate OIJ, EIJ. And then chi-square value can be calculated according to Pearson's correlation formula, OIJ minus EIJ whole square divided by EIJ for all the cell value that is there in the contingency table. So this will calculate chi-square. Now, so this is the technique, methodology. I can tell one example, so we can have this idea about it. Say there is one survey. Survey was done based on gender and their hobby. So gender has two categories, M and F. And for simplicity, let us hobby only two categories, book and chat, computer. So in your contingency table, if this is the gender, then there is a two entries. One is called the M entry and another is F. Then for the book also here in this direction, book is, the hobby is, there is a book and it is computer. Now, so here the entry, so say 10. That means 10 persons who are male and their hobby is book. Here 15. So 15 persons who are male and hobby is computer. And say here maybe, okay, 19 is female, hobby is book, and 21 is the female candidate whose hobby is computer. So this is a contingency table that you can obtain by scanning each record in it, and then we can find it. And since total number of male and total number of female, we can calculate, so it is 25. So it is the row total. And here also we can say it is 40, the row total. That means number of female 40, number of male 25. Now how many of them having the book as a hobby? 29. And how many of them having computer as a hobby? We can say 36. So total number of is 65. Total number of sample in the survey that is used. So 65 people have been surveyed and there. Now here we want to find if there is any correlation between gender and hobby. So it is there. Now here for the data which we have conducted for 1,500 people, we say that male having hobby book 250. So this is essentially called the observed frequency. So these are observed frequency 011, observed frequency 12, 021, 022. And then expected frequency 450 into 300 divided by 1,500, we can get it. Similarly for 450 into 1,000 divided by 500, EIJ can be calculated. In the next table I show, this is the expected frequency. This is 90 is equals to 450 into 300 divided by 1,500. This 840 we got 1200 into 1050 divided by this one 84. So similarly 360 we got 450 into 1200 divided by 150, and this 200 1050 into 300 divided by 150. So all these frequencies calculated, OIJ and EIJ values. Then the formula can be used to calculate the chi-square. So this chi-square value is calculated. So this chi-square value gives an indication that how much the correlation between the two things are there. This correlation value, in fact, can be analyzed following a table that is called the chi-square table is available, and this chi-square table is consulted with degree of freedom. Now the degree of freedom is the how many number of rows and how many number of columns are there in your contingency table. Now in this contingency table, here the number of rows is 2 and number of columns is 2. So it is actually the degree it is called if there is a contingency table, m rows and n columns are there, then this data has a degree of correlation m-1 into n-1. Now, so this value, 507 value, we can consult with this degree of correlation. In this case, m is to n is to degree of correlation, degree of freedom is 1. Now, this chi-square value should be consulted with this coefficient, and what will be the what is called the it is a degree of freedom, and for each degree of freedom and with level of what is called the confidence, there is one confidence 95% or 90%. This table can tell you one value, this one. So this value actually indicates what is the strength of this relation. So chi-square value can be calculated, and one statistical table will be used to find the strength of this value, and that can be obtained from there, right? And then this will tell how strong it is there. So actually this is a very strong correlation. That means, says that for this data, for this data gender and hobby, which we obtain from the survey analysis, say that hobby is correlated with gender. That means the males, they have the hobby with say book, or female have the hobby, they are correlated. Now, as another example, I can tell you, there are many accidents occurs in any particular road, and if we take the all accidents, whether they are non-fatal or fatal. Now, accident occurs due to the driver who are left-handed and right-handed. So here we want to see whether there is any correlation of the accident which become fatal, and it is whether correlated with left-handedness or right-handedness. So you can collect the accident record for all accidents occur in a year, and then this is actually the 8 accidents where the driver was left-handed, and then accident can be non-fatal. Right-handed, the accident 141. And on the other hand, fatal accident, left-handed 3, right-handed 23. So total 175 records were collected, out of which non-fatal accident 149 and fatal accident 26. Left-handed drivers involved in the accident 11 and right-handed driver involved suffered 164. Now here we want to find, if we want to find a correlation that right-handedness is related to fatal or this one. Right-handedness is fatal. So we can apply the chi-square analysis, and for this chi-square analysis, chi-square value can be calculated. This value can be consulted with the statistical table to find if this is correlation or not, and if there, then how much correlations are there. Now this method can be applicable to categorical data as we have discussed. So we have discussed 3 different methods and 3 different methods for relation analysis or correlation analysis. And then we shall discuss the regression analysis, but after a break of 15 minutes in our second session. Now I would like to stop it here. But
okay, sir.
Starting, I can take some questions from your side if you have any question.
Yeah,
so
in the chat, sir, in the chat box there are 2 questions is there, sir.
In the chat box there are few questions, okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Let me go to the machine chat box. Right, okay, now fine. I'm stopping my presentation. I hope I have stopped my presentation. Okay, let me stop my presentation. and then go to my chat box there. Okay, okay, I can go to the chat box. Yes. Yeah, so one question from Dr. Pantula Shravan Kumar. So your question is, box plot is similar with candlestick chart. Yeah, actually box plot is a special visualization. It is used for 5-point data summarization. So box plot is called 5-point data summarization. And it is okay, it has some similarity with the candlestick chart also, but it has its own meaning so far the box plot is concerned. Now it is actually used for the 5-point summarization, summarizing mean value, minimum value, maximum value, and Q1, that is called the first quartile, and Q3, third quartile. So this is a 5 estimation in a population data used for there. On the other hand, candlestick chart is used for other purpose. So they are not same actually, they are different, but they are little bit okay, similarity about, because candlestick is also used the median, mean, and then the highest value it is used. Now there is another question from Dr. P. Shankar. In Charles Spearman coefficient of correlation, if multiple attributes are there, can we find the rank, and is there any limitation? Now here, although in my discussion I have used only 2 attributes, but it is not necessarily to be limited to 2 attributes are there. So multivariate attribute also can be included, but for that the Spearman technique which I have discussed not applicable. So there is a modified Spearman technique is useful for that. So in case of modified Spearman technique, one attribute by the rest of the other attributes. So one versus others. So now other attribute can be considered one by one at a time, or it can be considered together at a time. But there is a pre-processing of data, how the many attributes can be combined together to have a complex attribute. So this is another discussion is there. So here just I want to say, in case of multiple attributes, if we consider, then we even can find the rank, but there is a different procedure to be followed. It is a very good question. So there is another procedure by which the rank of multiple attributes can be calculated, and we can use it. So thank you for asking such a good question. Thank you very much.
Participants, any other queries? Sir, thank you. Thank you for the clarifications sent from the participants, sir. Thank you, sir. We will meet on no questions right now. We will meet on 11:45, sir. We will meet on.
Yeah, fine. 11:45 is fine for me.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
So I'm now leaving the meeting session. I shall join it again with the same meeting link, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we shall be back at 11.